I will start and introduce, we have Dr. Ken Weinberg. He is Cannabis Doctors of New York. They offer a comprehensive tailored medical marijuana regimen to manage your medical needs with a high level of personal attention. They are a group of board-certified physicians, nurse practitioners trained and registered in New York State who provide evaluations, education, and certification for patients with one of the qualifying conditions. Round for Dr. Ken. And we have Nina Simmons. She spoke briefly, and her story is amazing. You should really look her up. And she approached me to be on this panel, and I just want you to know her story. She's a resident of Harlem and a mom to 6-year-old Aiden Tanshin Simmons, and he has epilepsy and is a medical marijuana patient. We also have Sana Ohana Yoga and Wellness. CBD Yoga was started by Salam Deary and Estefania Valencia in Hoboken, New Jersey, with the mission to educate people about the health benefits of the cannabis plant and yoga. CBD Yoga combines the benefits of movement, breath, meditation, and meditation of yoga with CBD's calming effects on the mind, allowing practitioners to become more aware of their body and deepening their connection to themselves and their practice. Okay. We also have Curaleaf, Stasia Woodcock with us. Curaleaf is committed to being the industry's leading resource in education and advancement through research and advocacy. They are headquartered in Wakefield, Massachusetts. Curaleaf has a presence in 12 states, owns and operates 42 dispensaries, 12 cultivation sites, and 10 processing sites with a focus on highly populated limited license states, including Florida, Massachusetts, New Jersey, and New York. Curaleaf leverages its extensive research and development capabilities to distribute cannabis products in multiple formats with the highest standard of safety, effectiveness, consistency, quality, and customer care. All right. We also have a Harlem-based CBD brand. I think it's important to see that this is happening, this is real, and we have a company out of Harlem. We have Sakina Ohura. She is a CNMMS, has been practicing the art of midwifery for 21 years and has provided maternal child health care and education in underserved areas for 32 years. She held the position of site director of midwifery services of Morris Heights Women's Health and Birthing Pavilion during the 1999 through 2004. MHHC was the first clinic to offer out-of-hospital prenatal labor and delivery services in an underserved community in New York City. In 2018, Ms. Ohura co-founded Black Ash Cannabis after realizing the tremendous health benefits of CBD. Black Ash Cannabis provides CBD health products as well as educational forums that focus on reproductive, integrative, as well as general health information. We also have Sativa, Colleen Marie Hughes, Director of Community Development and Education. Founded in 2015 by a small group of New York healthcare professionals, Sativa set a simple yet ambitious goal to standardize and scientifically prove the therapeutic and clinical effects of cannabinoid medicine. The Sativa team had witnessed the miraculous effects that cannabis extracts had on epileptic children and on other patients with varying conditions, thanks to their established team in New York, which included a dedicated staff of physicians, horticulture experts, and medical cannabis advocates, pharmacists, and chemists. Sativa has a unique capacity to carry out its mission. Sativa is focused on advancing the study of cannabis and its efficacy in the field of medicine. They have a lot more, but I'm trying to rush through so that you can hear from our speakers. Then we have Comeback Daily, Stephen Fan. If you do not know, Harlem has a CBD retail store, and he is the man who brought it up here. Comeback Daily is the world's first CBD wellness center and experiential retail shop committed to bridging the gap between the consumer and the product. We encourage conversation within the community to learn, educate, and experiment with the best products that are available on the market. Unlike a dispensary, vape, or head shop, we create an atmosphere that welcomes and encourages people to understand their bodies and how CBD works within their endocannabinoid system and the system which keeps homeostasis for all other bodily systems. Sourcing from only the highest quality cannabis products and providing them in an environment that meets the needs of today's modern customers, they set a standard for quality, comfort, and excellence. Welcome, speakers. And last but not least, Tanya Osborne, Women Grow. If you do not know, this is a nationwide organization that educates, inspires, and empowers the next generation of cannabis industry leaders by creating programs, community, and events for aspiring and current business executives. With markets and communities in over 35 cities, join them on every first Thursday of each month at their signature networking events, connecting you with industry experts. Find out about events in your area. Tanya is the market leader for New York. Welcome, and thank you all.
Hi everybody. Just housekeeping. We have a survey. I don't think we're gonna have enough. We're gonna hand them out just on the event today. Please fill it out and give us your honest opinion. Okay. And for those of you who want to ask questions, I'm just going to remind you, write your questions down and hand it to us. So let's start from the medicine perspective. We have a mother who has a child who has epilepsy, and they tried everything. And you know, the medicinal parts of the marijuana was the only thing that has helped them, you know, deal with this debilitating disease because he was having a lot of seizures. In the United States, we are behind the ball because in Israel, they are very advanced as far as this goes. And you know, at NYU, I know there is a doctor there, Levinsky, who's been doing research on this. You know, and you should see the documentary of what they make him, you know, do to safeguard the cannabis that he's using with his patients. So, from your perspective, you know, how can we help our patients and their, parents, spouse, or just their family members have access to the medicinal part of cannabis that they need? You guys have all different perspectives, different venues to look at this.
So I'm with Sativa, and I think a lot of what was discussed in the first panel about the restrictions in the medical program should be addressed, like the affordability, the high barrier of entry, and patient access. So what we can do is educate, and the state puts a lot of restrictions on what a registered organization is allowed to say in the marketplace for marketing. So we're not able to do the sort of traditional advertising that you would see in another company. It's not the same thing as opening a Verizon store in a neighborhood. There's a lot of different restrictions, and there's a lot of issues that get in the way of us being able to do the education. So that's why, like Lynette and Santiago, we're all here today because this is the best way that we can interact with the community to help engage and educate people to let them know, A, do you even qualify for the program, which most people do. And this, I can tie into the whole social justice component, is that post-traumatic stress disorder was now added to the list of qualifying conditions.
Can you state what the qualifying conditions are for people who might not know?
Off the top of my head, sure. Let's give it a whirl. So there's chronic pain, cancer, neuropathy, ALS, MS, Parkinson's, epilepsy, post-traumatic stress, opiate, HIV, and opiate replacement therapy. So if you are going to be prescribed an opiate for something, you're now able to be eligible for medical cannabis. Before, the law was written the opposite way. In fact, it said you had to try and exhaust all other options before you could qualify for medical cannabis. It's craziness. So now you're allowed to substitute something that's natural, and instead of going towards an opiate. The other thing is that the products that are offered in New York is not as straightforward as accessing flour, which is more affordable for people. Everything's been processed into an oil and made into different delivery methods, so the capital that's invested with the registered organizations is very high because you have to have all the analytical equipment and all the production gear to make and process this oil in a very pure manner. So there's a lot of issues with the restrictiveness of the program, but I think with keeping meetings like this going and working together, we can kind of open the program up and get more people involved. But back to the post-traumatic stress disorder thing, a lot of communities that have been impacted by the drug war with broken families and all of the issues that we're seeing surface now because of the prohibition of cannabis, I think really rings true in the post-traumatic stress disorder framework, because now you'd be eligible to participate as a patient legally in the community. And what we're trying to do at Sativa is put forth a social justice program and a workforce development program. So we would work with nonprofit legal organizations to help seal the records for people who are coming out of prison. Once that process is done, then we would work with reentry nonprofit programs to help people heal and have therapy with their families and address their post-traumatic stress disorder. And then once the healing has gone underway and starts to actually manifest itself where people are willing and ready to learn, then we enroll you in our workforce development program. And I think all of the ROs, and I know Lynette had asked what can we do as ROs to help further this mission, and I think the ROs have a responsibility to provide the resources that we were forced into having by the government to utilize these resources to help communities come in and learn from seed to sale. What are the different career paths? What are jobs that are available so you can learn and then you can open your own business? So these are programs that I've developed internally with Sativa, and we're trying to work with other nonprofits in the community. So I'm here at the Community Board 9 because I'd like to know whoever the reentry and nonprofit program people are in your community, please see me, talk to me. I want to put this together. I've talked to elected officials about this. I will talk to anyone who will listen. So I'll shut up now, sorry.
About the conditions. I think something that people should know, and this is very interesting, and it gives me a certain perspective on where the state is at about this. Last year, every year there's the Cannabis World Expo, which is more of a business thing than anything else at the Javits Center. I spoke last year on a panel with Josh Vinciguerra, who's the head of the DEA, basically, for New York State. And I was very wary, oh my God, DEA? They're very supportive, and on the panel I said, look, at this point we had 50,000 patients who had been certified. And I said, is New York State doing any data analysis? I mean, okay, we can't do this double-blind, placebo-controlled studies, but, what are we doing with the data? And he said, well, actually we are. And it turned out that they were doing something that a lot of other states have done in the past. And in fact, it's been published, like in JAMA, that they were looking at the physician monitoring program, which is, people who are getting narcotics, and they noticed that chronic pain patients were getting many fewer prescriptions for chronic pain, for narcotics for chronic pain. They were using cannabis instead. And not long after that, they passed the 13th condition, which had two parts. One was somebody could come to me, somebody has opioid use disorder, they can come to me and I can wean them off of opiates using a high CBD product. But the second thing, which I think is even more important, is that they said if somebody has acute pain, so I was an ER doctor for years, if somebody was to come to me tomorrow who broke their ankle, I could actually get them certified, they could get an emergency card that day, they could go to a dispensary, technically that day, they would never have to get opioids. And I think that's an amazing thing that New York State recognizes that cannabis really works. They are saying to me, and I think they were throwing down the gauntlet to all these institutions. I'm part of Northwell, I've been harassing them for a couple of years now. Give me the opportunity. We all recognize, they're saying to you, okay, somebody would never have to get an opioid for an acute pain condition. So I just want to say that, and I applaud New York State for that.
I just want to get back to the original question real quick for a second. So I'm a clinical pharmacist with Curaleaf, and I think that we do a lot of patting ourselves on the back for the medical program in New York because it really has opened up legal access for a lot of patients, right? And a lot of our patients that we see are self-medicating. But there's a very real issue that you've highlighted is that we have patients that are benefiting from this medicine, and it can't be administered to them. If it's a child in school, the school's afraid of losing federal funding, so the school nurse does not want to give that child cannabis. If you have an elderly parent, grandparent in a nursing facility, if they can self-administer, that's fine. But if, you have a combative Alzheimer's patient that can't self-administer, the nurse is not going to administer it. So there's still a lot of work to be done policy-wise to open up, access so that patients who need this medicine can receive it, and more importantly, can receive it wherever they happen to be, not just at home. And I think that that's really important to keep in mind that we're doing everything we can to increase access, right? So we have a diverse workplace, we offer free delivery, our prices are the lowest in the industry. But there's a much bigger picture to access that not everyone sees because of the federal schedule of the drug, and it all starts there. We cannot do clinical research because it's federal Schedule 1. It's so difficult to get a license to do a study because you have to be showing harm through the National Institute of Drug Abuse. You can't do a traditional clinical study because that's what a Schedule 1 means. It means the drug has no clinical benefit. So there are so many restrictions, even for the medical program, that the federal schedule has caused that we really need to be thinking about as far as creating this framework for policy that's really going to serve patients.
A question, is it possible for a state to take that study on?
What do you mean?
Which study?
Good luck.
In terms of research, as you were saying.
So, yes and no. So we can do observational study framework, and that's what we're partnering with. Dr. Weinberg's one of them that we're having a conversation with to try and do, because the other side is if you get an approved study through the government, you have to use the federal government plant that's at the University of Mississippi that's representative of the cannabis from like 1960. It's not relevant to what's in the dispensaries in New York. So how do we get actual data on what's in the dispensaries in New York and what's helping patients in New York when we can't get approval for a study? So we do that through observational studies. We partner with our clinicians, create a framework so that the patients get a standardized dose and we can monitor their progress. That's something that we take very seriously because it all comes back to stigma and it all comes back to data and research and being able to show clinically that this fear that, we're talking about the Long Island and Westchester people have of this stigma and this reefer madness, this is how we can help dispel it. And this is where the ROs can really be that bridge between the communities. We're here because we care, we're here because we want to be involved, and we want to stop this ridiculous idea that people have of what cannabis use is. It's nonsense that people can come home and have a glass of wine every day, and that's completely socially acceptable, but we have to be afraid for our professional jobs because I have a medical cannabis card. Like, what kind of nonsense is that? You know what I mean? So I think that it all starts with education.
So I just real quick on that, so when the data is being collected, is the intent that it will be shared widely?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Across the board?
It takes a while. Studies don't happen overnight. It takes months to set up the framework. You have to get institutional review board approval, and then you have to collect the data and process the data. So it's a long process. I wish it were faster. And we actually did speak with the Department of Health, and they are collecting data on the current patients in the program that they're planning on putting out soon. And I think that will really help because exactly what Dr. Weinberg was saying. Like, they know that opioid prescriptions are down. We know that drug abuse is less, and it's also misconstrued. So just having access to that data, I think, is going to be really important.
So Harvard just endowed a private investor just endowed Harvard with $9 million to fund something exactly like this. Would that be something Curaleaf or Ianthus might be open to funding here in New York State or in New York City?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those are conversations we have all the
So
time,
that's a
and
yes?
that I cannot give you a hard yes. I do
That's a
not
yes.
represent my legal
We're
legally appointed company,
a
but
company,
yeah,
yes.
exactly.
We're doing our own data collection, obviously, we have to do our own data collection. The state BioTrack system is connected to all of the ROs, and they have more data than all of us because it's all combined. Now, are they tracking symptom mitigation and efficacy of which products? No, they're not. That's what we are gonna be doing individually in the dispensary. But yes, you have our commitment that we're working on. Like Sativa, when they didn't get the first license, they took their money and went to Jamaica and partnered with a hospital and an educational institution in Jamaica because it's not federally illegal there. So we're committed to doing that. It's just we're not allowed to here. So
You're not allowed to make a private endowment?
No, we're not allowed to federally, we can't do the
That's why I'm
study,
saying,
so
so
it's
in Massachusetts, for example, at Harvard, that's just, it's associated with an Institute of Higher Learning.
Yes.
And it's for a $5 billion or a $1 billion company, it's a rounding error to donate $9 million.
Let's do this, let's respect the process of
Oh,
getting
sorry,
the
sorry.
questions on the index
It
card.
just seemed like
If
such
you
a
wanna
small
put it-
amount of money.
Put it on a question, because if we
Yeah.
can't get to
Sorry,
it, these are all
sorry.
things that we want to then take into our committee and like just.
Have ongoing conversations around, thank you.
Anybody else should answer this? So,
I just wanted to talk a little bit about education. That's one of the things, Black Ash Cannabis focuses on. We like to offer platforms that goes into communities like Bedford and Brownsville and Yonkers and Baltimore, because we want to really get to those communities who have been marginalized the most by the cannabis plant. So it's important that we talk about reframing how people think about the plant, and also not only in communities, but also in terms of medical professionals, because a lot of us are very conservative about the way we think about the plant. So I think education is important. Everything anyone else has been saying about education is important, but I think we need to focus on the medical community as well.
With Sana Ohana, our CBD yoga company, we've been working really hard on empowering people to ask questions to their physicians. And everybody's very scared. There's a lot of people that are interested and they're just. Was there? Oh. Okay. So yeah, there's a lot of people that are interested, they're curious, but they're very afraid of speaking up to their doctors. And when they speak to their doctors are condescending and they just say, this is not right, I don't believe in that stuff. So we do come across a lot of people that are looking for alternative ways to heal, and that's why they end up doing CBD yoga, because they want to be introduced to CBD in a safe space. So yeah, definitely talking and just having these conversations and empowering people to speak up and to realize that they know more about their own bodies than one doctor does.
Yeah, just to quickly speak about that. So our neurologist wasn't really on board initially with giving my son CBD. But we did it anyway. And now she is prescribing CBD to her patients, so sometimes, you gotta have that courage, it took a lot for us to be like, no, we're doing this. Now the last visit, his EEG came out clear, and she was like, I think you know him best. So it's like just coming with that courage, bringing them, they love data, so bring them the data, bring them the results. Tell them that, hey, look, this child is doing this, just have that courage, and then you're educating them, and then you educate their colleagues and so forth.
I actually wanted, you may think, well, women grow and come back daily retail, your business. And you guys are hearing from a lot of people. You're with consumers. You have people coming into your store, seeking out CBD, testing. What are you hearing from them? You have a lot of panels. You discuss a lot of topics. Wellness is a big topic. You're hearing a lot. You hear a lot from women. So I would love to hear from the perspective of wellness and women and market trends, what you see, where you see all of this going. We can get more into the medical, but where do you see the pulse of people with cannabis? Because there is this big green rush right now, and we are gonna have to push the medical. But there's a way that you can do that if you connect it with what people are talking about.
So I actually really like that question because it's what I'm most passionate about. Is really like that's why we opened Come Back Daily, was to bridge this gap. And I guess if I were to put it in words, there's still you see in like the newspapers, they're like, oh, it's going to be like a $22 billion market by 2022, and from where I stand, I don't see that being the case. And I'll take my parents for example, not just my customers, but my mom has come out and visited my shop, and when she left, she was like, "Wow, like this, I didn't know that it could help people like this." And I was like, "Yeah, mom, try it." She's like, "I will never try it." In fact, she said to me, she was like, "I can't get addicted like you are," and I was like, "Well, okay, but it's okay." Like that's why I fight this fight because I was raised on Chinese herbs. And if she just let me put one pot seed in the ground and she could take care of it, she would see that there's not chemicals being added to it like she thinks in her mind. So the education piece is huge right now, and CBD is what I call now the precursor to cannabis. I always joke like if I could rewind time, I would have pushed hemp and CBD because then all of us would have been like, oh, CBD doesn't get you high, and you get this benefit. And now there's THC. You might not want to get high, but at least know that there's a benefit. Whereas now it's like they're so caught on the high. Like that's what I realized. People are like the stigma with this plant. The stigma's not with the plant. The stigma's with the high.
Yeah,
Because
it
they're
is.
worried about it, you know, with the brain development. And my mom and dad wanted me to have 4.0s. And like you know, that messes that up, like the brain development. So that's what I've learned is like the stigma isn't really with the plant. Like when I ask people in my store, I say, okay, they're like, what is it? What is this store? They think it's a coffee shop, first of all. And I'm like, okay, it's a CBD store. And most times they're like, oh, what's that? So the first thing I say is, okay, you know what marijuana is? They're like, yes. I was like, okay, so they've talked about medical benefits coming from marijuana. Do you believe in those things? Yeah, I believe in those things. Okay, well, what's your problem with it? You know, you can't just be high all day. All right, well, CBD doesn't get you high, and their guard comes down.
Can you explain that really quick? Do people understand the difference between CBD and THC in the room?
You guys,
Yeah.
okay. Well, for anyone that does not know, real quick, CBD is a cannabinoid in the plant, similar to THC. CBD doesn't get you high like THC, but it does have an effect on your brain. You know, if you're stressed and you're anxious, you know, I don't know the doctor terminology, but from news and talking to customers, I know right now you can't really say non-psychoactive because if I'm stressed,
It's non-euphoric.
yeah, it's non-euphoric. There you go.
It's an anxiolytic.
I like
it's
that. Non-euphoric. Adding that to the brain. But yeah, so CBD, you know, there's a lot of things that customers are coming and getting relief from, whether it be stress, anxiety. I kind of think they're the same thing, but pain, sleep management.
Dogs, right?
Yeah, dogs. I had a customer come in. They were like, "Oh, my veterinarian prescribed this to my cat, and now me and my girlfriend want to try it because it works so well for my cat." Whoa, not tested on animals.
I do,
Oh.
oh, sorry. I'll get back to you in just a second. I do want to reiterate too, because this is an even more nuanced piece that happens all the time, is that when it's dosed medically, THC doesn't need to get you high either.
Exactly.
And so when you come into the medical
Right.
dispensary, one of the most
Exactly.
common things, because people, when I invite them to come in, we welcome you if you have a card or not, you can come in and check it out. It is not stoners. They are well served by the illicit market. They do not need to come into our dispensaries. Like these are people in pain with cancer, older people with multiple sclerosis. They are at their last effort of trying to find relief, and the first thing they say is, I can't be high. And I say, I don't want you to be high either. I want you to not have pain. I want you to be able to sleep at night. And so THC does not necessarily mean high.
Exactly.
Yeah, it means high at high doses, or whatever that dose is for you.
Exactly.
But you can dose THC therapeutically without psychoactivity, and that is a huge educational barrier.
Exactly.
And so, yeah, we've taken it out and said CBD, but then you lose a lot of the power of the CBD because they work so beautifully together and they're much stronger together. And so there's a lot of education with that as well, I think.
Exactly.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Hey everybody. So I'm in a really unique position because Women Grow is a professional networking organization. So I am incredibly lucky that not only do I have entrepreneurs and moms and community and business professionals and advocates that come through our events. So I've been in the space now for almost 5 years. And what I've noticed personally is as much as we still battle with the whole legislation issue, I see tremendous growth. And as much as I would like it to be more, the stigma is dropping. It is slowly but surely. The fact that we have a CBD retail store, I mean, I take nothing for granted. I find it amazing that if I wanted CBD, I can go purchase it in a store like I would go buy my coffee. You know what I mean? The fact that we have community members, when I say that, I mean Women Grow community, which is the whole room, you know? That we have dispensary owners or dispensary leaders talking to the same person who's making edibles. And there might not be, talking about, well, let's do this, let's do that, but they can talk, they can interact. I think that is wonderful. And the fact that my 76-year-old mother, Jamaican, who never touched the plant in her entire life, because of my association with the industry, is now using cannabis for her pain, which everyone has this, idea that Jamaicans love cannabis. Not true, not true. And it actually bothers me that, I won't buy anything if you have branding with the Jamaican flag on your stuff. I will never buy it because I know my family is not that, But this community is growing, this community is flourishing. If you are looking to find out about starting a business, you can ask questions to people who've already done it. I mean, it's a really unique place we are in. The stigma is dropping. These are the best leaders that you can ever talk to. So if you're in a position where you want to learn about how to find out about the medical industry, you have them. You can actually call them now. If you wanted to find out about a program to start a business, you could do this. I'm going to be 50 this year. Honestly, 10 years ago, you could not have these conversations.
Absolutely.
Like, you couldn't have them at all. So as much as the stigma, we want it to drop quicker because we're all in the space and we just want it done now, we have to acknowledge how far we've come. And that's all I have to say. Thank you so much.
Hello, everybody. So I'm here representing not just Sana Ohana, but the whole cannabis community and families in these communities. Just a real quick, Sana means perception in Sanskrit. I'm a personal trainer, 15 years. I have my degree in psychology from Rutgers Newark. It's how you perceive life and how you live. How do you influence perception, education, knowledge? Okay, so when you have more knowledge and education on something, your perception is grander. You can see more things on this certain topic. Once you are able to see more things, now the reality gets enhanced and changes. Okay, so I grew up, my mom is Colombian, my dad is Iraqi. They were both extremely strict. Believe me when I tell you, they were extremely strict. And I had to combat them my whole life. I had to combat them in grammar school, in high school, and in college. Okay? I stayed calm. I studied psychology, so my mom knew I wasn't crazy. All right? And I learned to educate them slowly. Okay? Not just slowly, but educate them properly. Okay? I knew it was going to be a medicine in the future. I didn't know when. So I started introducing, like Steve said, before CBD, actually hemp. Okay? So I went to Trader Joe's. I bought my parents hemp granola cereal. My parents love cereal. All right? Bought them granola cereal from Trader Joe's. It had cannabis leaves on it. I'm like, here, try this cereal. They loved it. Mom, it's cannabis granola cereal. Whatever. Hemp seed butter. I got them hemp seed butter. Hemp seed butter is delicious, very rich, very nutty. They loved hemp seed butter. I didn't tell them what it was. Mom, Dad, it's hemp seed butter. All right, it's great. My dad had problems with blood pressure and inflammation and stress and anxiety. Here, Dad, try these drops. They're great for you. He tried them. Instantly, he felt them. Wow, what is this? It's CBD. It's part of the cannabis plant. So slowly, little by little, now they come to my CBD yoga events. I tell my friends, you can bring your kids for free and you can bring your parents for free to my events. Why? Because we need to change the stigma. The stigma starts from the top, and the stigma also, we have to educate to
use it properly and safely. So the stigma can be changed through education, through perception, and then the reality will come. So don't give up. Steve, don't give up on your mom. I would love to talk to your mom. She hasn't spoken to me yet. You know what I mean? But introduction with knowledge, and also look for a need. Okay, we all have a need for this plant. Everybody has a need for this plant. It could be stress, it could be inflammation, PTSD, injury, whatever the case is. Just find a need, educate on that need, and then educate on that plant, and perceptions will change. Okay, so don't give up.
Very well said. Well, I'm just going to say a little bit more about education. When we offer platforms like this, Black Ash Cannabis, we like to talk about our product, and that's when most participants purchase our product, because we stand in front of it and we describe who we partner with, what the product actually does in terms of your endocannabinoid system. And in terms of market trends, for me, most of my patients are looking for CBD, and in terms of their symptoms for insomnia, for anxiety, for depression. And for myself, I use it for insomnia, and it actually works very well. I couldn't go to sleep and I couldn't stay asleep. So when I used it, it worked very well. So I started prescribing it for not only my patients, but my family and friends who were also suffering from symptoms like insomnia. And so for me in my practice, I am seeing market trends in terms of patients complaining about chronic pain, anxiety, and depression. And I've been seeing great results with that.
Okay, so here we have a question that talks about dispensary and bodega store. They want to partake in this new venture. And the person is asking, how do you decide where to distribute as far as bodegas go?
And this is a good question as for a doctor and for a dispensary. And this, bodegas are corner delis of town. What are your thoughts on them wanting to be the dispensaries in our community?
I think it's great, but I think something that everybody needs to know is that CBD from hemp draws up all kinds of crap from the soil, from the air, and so many of these places. I mean, CBD is, it's everywhere. But I tell my patients that, you really have to be careful, because I think it was ABC or CBS did a thing, and they looked at, I don't remember how many different CBD products. Most of them didn't even have CBD. None of them are tested. So you're taking something allegedly to help you, and instead you're getting all this crap, and you're not even getting the CBD. So I think, it gets back to the whole licensing and the FDA. It needs to really, all of this stuff needs to be regulated and supervised. And it's not going to happen for who knows how long.
I was just going to say the same thing. I think the most recent study said that 70% of hemp CBD products either don't contain what's on the label or contain other things. People are putting melatonin, dextromethorphan, which is a cough suppressant. They put this stuff in it so that you feel sleepy, but it has nothing to do with the CBD. I'm sure everyone up here processes their products properly and tests them, and you can trust these people to give you a quality product. But even for a bodega, I think it's fantastic for access, but they need to make sure that they're getting product from a trusted, third-party tested source, which inherently makes it a little bit more expensive. But you want something that's quality, that's tested, that's clean, that's safe, especially when we're giving it to children, to immunocompromised patients. Like that, it's just so important.
I want to ask a follow-up question to the bodega. Well, I don't know how many people have heard of Friedlands. Anybody know what Friedlands is? Like, the viral marketing companies that enter Black and immigrant communities, so they now have taken on community products. And now they're selling in Friedlands. And so I was like, I go to these meetings and I'm looking at how it's talked about, how it's presented. And I think that it's a good opportunity for professionals to work with the Friedlands people and give them the proper education, because they're deep in our community, they're deep in this neighborhood. Actually, in every people of color neighborhood. It's like this environment where like you guys.
Definitely, we should talk with you more
Well,
about that.
they're also selling spice, right? Which is the synthetic, which is so damaging and has nothing to do with the plant. And you just have to be so careful.
Let's just stick to the fullness so we can get through it.
Yeah, I'll actually just, speaking on the bodega thing, I actually just had a meeting with a distributor that distributes to the bodegas, right? This was actually a Korean guy that came into my store, and I started to go through, like, build out a contract for him where I would help him understand how to procure his products, not use all my products. And then he starts to ask me, he's like, what's your margin? He's already selling CBD, by the way, right? He procured his own stuff. And he's like, what's your average margin on this? And I tell him, and he's like, what? He's like, how are you running a business like this? I'm like, what's your margin on your stuff you bought? And it was like dirt cheap. And I was just like, dude, I don't know what you're selling, but that's like, I've worked for a manufacturer, like, you're getting it cheaper than it actually costs to buy the biomass. Like, explain that to me. Hey,
And it sounds too
so,
good to be true.
until,
Probably.
unfortunately, the bodegas don't have a good reputation in terms of I need the best quality everything. And when you're gonna say, put this in your body to benefit your life, better come correct on that sense. That's all I'll say.
I just wanna say one thing real quick. Remember guys, it's always quality versus quantity. So even if you buy a $150 bottle of CBD, check the COAs, check the background of the product and everything. Even a small amount of that high quality CBD can go a long way, as opposed to you're buying really cheap CBD at high quantity. That will not, there's probably not any CBD in there. And I actually know people that have gotten severely sick from fake CBD, like CBD in water and tinctures. So just be careful and choose quality over quantity. And check your stuff with COAs.
I was just gonna add on to that, I think that because we have such an issue with education in the medical community, even where we're talking about this is a medicine for people who are severely sick, that to stay on the wellness platform, I think it's largely irresponsible for bodegas and liquor stores to try to get a piece of the cannabis pie, because it's not gonna be treated with the reverence that we're treating it with quality assurance and seed to sale, safety precautions and consistency. So I that's just my
So we're gonna break real quick because a few of our panelists have to
Sorry,
go.
guys.
But
You wanna stay? You wanna stay?
there, for those that do not know, it's May 4th, there's a big cannabis parade marching from
Get down there.
42nd Street to Union Square. A lot of speakers are gonna be speaking, it's a big deal this year because of the whole push for legalization.
And it's the one day the police are actually your friends. No matter what color you are. I've seen it with my own 2 eyes.
And we're doing free CBD yoga before the rally from 12:15 to 11:45.
But don't leave to catch
Better
the
hurry up.
May the fourth be with you.
But the
Sorry.
other panelists, okay?
11:45 is when we're supposed to.
This is the way for May the fourth be with you.
Educate yourself, guys. I'm everywhere.
No, the yoga.
So
My
we're
yoga
gonna
is
try to keep this
everywhere.
going.
Yeah, I go to Hoboken, I'm in Tribeca, I'm back daily, I'm in Manhattan, I go to your house,
Yeah, I'm here.
Brooklyn, Queens, DC, Connecticut. Yeah, that's why so people can pick it up.
Salam.
Just leave it in the back, people can pick it up. Sure, I'm gonna leave the crib over here.
So, sorry for that, we kind of ran a little late and I promised these guys.
I wanted to make sure we address the question of bodega, because one thing that they're not thinking of is the security aspect that comes from that, and the perception of having a lot of money. So they might be putting themselves as a target, which they already are, for any criminal activity. So they need to be careful when they ask for, what they wish for, because from traveling to other states where cannabis is legal, the places are very secure. I think that what you were saying, they're thinking about the market, but not on the philosophy of how this product is to be delivered.
They don't understand the industry, I think it points out they need education as well. I think the next question, and I'm glad that you all stayed, because
With the big push on the green rush, it's the green rush to legalize recreational. But there's still a lot of inequities and access in the medical program. How can we, Community Board 9, how can we draw more attention to the medical program? In particular, I know access is a challenge in our community with Medicare, Medicaid, and the federal roadblocks. How can we as a community board, we kind of touched it in the beginning, that we have to push the policy to include all of it. But apart from that, how can we get our community more into the medical program, make it more accessible? I happen to be a medical marijuana patient myself, and I had to leave the community to get access.
So there are several parts to that question. I think the first is on the current dispensaries to increase access. Obviously, I can only speak for Curaleaf that we're offering free delivery, and we will do a phone consultation or remote consultation, so you never have to leave your community, and we will deliver it to you at no cost, because we know that access is such a huge issue. And I think maybe everyone might not understand that when we were given each RO was given the locations, the Department of Health told us where. So we didn't have a choice to open a dispensary here. We weren't given that freedom. We were told where our dispensary could be located.
So the state decides.
The state determines that. So I think it's very important to reach out to the state and tell them you want a dispensary in your area, because they determine where we are allowed to open facilities. And I think that there's a lot of misunderstanding around that. People are like, well, why did you want to come here? And I'm like, trust me, we wanted to, but we're not allowed. They tell us where to go. So that's the first thing, that the existing dispensaries really need to open up access as far as delivery and things like that. I think the second thing that the community board specifically can do is educational events for, hold a panel with doctors in your area. You have some. Who are licensed and are willing to speak to potential patients, work with the existing ROs that have those relationships to educate and tell people how they qualify, how they can get their card, and then the doctors that are willing. And we've talked about this a couple times, but not properly. Your medical visit can be covered by insurance. It is not a cash-only visit. It's only a cash-only visit if you are seeing a doctor specifically to get your card. But if it's a doctor that's evaluating you for cancer, for chronic pain, and they also certify you for medical cannabis, that gets billed to insurance just like any other visit. So if you can find providers that are practicing that way, then that opens up access to a whole slew of patients who may not otherwise be able to afford a medical card from telemedicine or from, an individual cannabis provider if their actual primary care or specialty physician also certifies that's covered by insurance. So it's working to educate practitioners in the neighborhood to work with potential patients, hold events at the community board. Those are all steps that can be done locally to help increase access, and then work with the existing ROs that are willing to either provide delivery or provide access to patients in a way that helps them gain access to the program.
Can I just add to that, maybe, collaborating with the community boards, some of the ROs collaborating with the community boards to, offer those educational forums.
Yeah, and that's why we're here.
And also those who attend those forums, maybe they have a discounted,
Oh, yeah.
like 30% discount.
We
when it
give
comes to
discounts
dispensary.
all the time.
Because, access and affordability together goes hand in hand.
To follow up with that, there's a question here, what medical marijuana companies would you recommend? That's,
Well, they're gonna recommend themselves.
So somebody asked, what,
Of the
because
dispensaries?
the dispensaries, because
Oh.
people were talking about how you can get products and not.
I think that's.
Oh, they meant products?
Yeah.
Oh, CBD products.
Or brands.
Marijuana companies.
That's kind of like, I'm.
Are you talking
Well,
about dispensaries?
So yeah, so there was a slew of people up there when I first asked the question, and I wanted everybody's opinion on, essentially a recommendation on what company would you recommend, whether it's a particular brand.
I was
I know you would go with Curaleaf, but like what companies do you guys work with?
Curaleaf.
as
We're
well?
Curaleaf, yeah.
Do you work with other companies, like brands, phones, and things of that nature? Just have your
No,
own brand?
it's a whole different thing, because, CBD products, you can get anywhere.
It's
We were
different
talking
than the
about that.
medical program.
But the registered organizations are just, you have to have a card, and I don't think they're working with anybody else. I mean,
Well, we
they're-
have our own CBD line that you can purchase without a card. I don't know if we're the only dispensary that does or not, but we do have our own CBD line that's tested just like our medical products, and you can come in and
So
buy it
you
in the
might wanna
dispensary.
explain the vertical integration, the vertical. So dispensaries in New York State have to grow and they only make and sell their products, like they can't have
Yes.
outside brands.
Although some of the dispensaries wholesale from each other, but it's all grown and processed from the dispensary, so it's our own medicine. If you're talking hemp CBD, that's where we're talking about, like, we do have our own proprietary line that you can buy, but then there's also, the C of A is a certificate of analysis. That means that it's been tested by a third party and shown that it's potent and clean and safe. So that's what you wanna look for in a hemp CBD brand, to make sure all that information is transparent and available, to know that it's safe for you to take.
And it would be on the bottle?
Yes, you should look for it on the bottle of it.
It's on the bottle, but then it's also gonna be on the company website,
Yeah.
the testing information. The testing information's not on the bottle. The bottle can say a lot of things.
It
That-
does. But the testing information is on some of the websites.
Yes.
And what they test for, the ingredients that is tested for. So you should look for that, whether it's non-GMO, organically grown, how's it extracted, if it's full spectrum. So you should look for those things on the website and also on the bottle.
And what's important also to know is the difference between the medical grade CBD and the, just what you would buy at Comeback Daily. Would you like to touch on that, the 0.40 percentage?
0.3.
0.3.
Does anyone want to take that?
Well, I'll first, let me just talk about our product.
As a
Black-
retail.
As retail, Black Ash Cannabis, we have no THC in our product. So, but some of the CBD oil hemp products do have 0.3 milligrams of THC.
And that's when it's full spectrum.
Right.
When it's isolate, it only has CBD. When it's a full spectrum and it's sold as a CBD brand, it has to have less than 0.3% of THC.
Go Miriam.
I've been educated.
So my son we do not get his CBD oil from a dispensary because it ended up being more expensive for us. So the cannabis doctor did give us a list of CBD products that we can try on him. But every time we do try a product on him, we actually get the full report. He does need a little bit of THC. It does help with his behavior, so he doesn't do CBD only. But that little 0.3% does help him a lot. But it may not help you or you. You have to kind of try different products out because different products are from different strands. So we worked on a product that was Valentine X and ACDC. So it depends. Like you can't just say, oh, this CBD product didn't work. You have to try the different ones. So there's so many out there, but like they said, gotta make sure that they're clean.
I think this leads into a good explanation for the doctor of how every person processes all of this.
Yeah,
The dosing.
Yeah.
that's a vast hours and hours long.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been doing this since 16, and I've seen hundreds of patients, and every one of them has a different response.
2016, I was like,
Yeah,
since you were 16.
I got a special pediatric license. Anyway, it's one of the fascinating things as a physician and scientist, why that is. I mean, I think first of all, everybody needs to know the endocannabinoid system is vast. It's the master system. We only learned about it like 20 or 30 years ago, and so there's all of this information that keeps coming in. But what I've learned is that it's a vast system. Because it's involved with appetite, with reproduction, with pain, with balance, with memory. There's so many things and it connects with all these other systems. But the reason I'm saying that is just for that alone, but also for the fact that I have patients who come into me and I will say, okay, well, you have Crohn's. That's an inflammatory disease. I should be giving you high CBD. And for some of my patients, that works. But then I have a number of people, and I have gotten to the point where I think it's legitimate because These are people who are not getting high, but they will get attacks of Crohn's and they will vape high THC and their symptoms go away within 5 minutes. And I think everybody has a very different endocannabinoid system and you metabolize cannabis very differently. And there's so much that's being looked at now. If you go on 23andMe, there's actually a link to a company that is doing work that will tell you what ratios of THC and CBD you could get because of your genetics for depression and pain. I think it's Michigas, though. Because no, it's I mean, it may be the way that things will eventually happen, but none of us really know. It's very hard to predict, basically, how people are going to respond. And I always tell people that it's trial and error.
It is a lot of trial and error.
It will work, but we need to figure it out.
So, we're gonna have to come to an end. It's already,
That
it's
said-
about to be 12.
That said, Columbia University is not here, but it is part of the Community Board 9 attachment. And we have started a conversation with them to share with us any research that is happening in Columbia. And they will be coming to our health committee to, we're gonna keep this conversation going with them and perhaps pushing them to open up more research.
I just wanted to address as far as, before we were talking about research and studies. You can't do randomized control, double blind because of the, labeling and scheduling. But you can do retrospective analysis, meaning that you can look back of how people have done, that they're doing. And a lot of times that's a precursor to do, better quality studies. So we're starting with this. There's a lot of, claims and, it's not to say, I talk to my patients when they see me and they're like, well, I tried this plan and this works. I'm like, look, I have this bottles and one says 5 milligrams, one says 100. If I give you 100 of the 5 milligrams, I can kill you. And if I give you 2.5 of the, the 100, it won't do anything. This is why we need to study this, so we can make sure we get to a therapeutic dose for patients. Patients can benefit, and we can have a clear understanding of what's happening. We have testimonies from patients who are coming in and saying, look, this works for my epilepsy. Okay, so we're going to have to do some more digging into this to see how it works and how it can be administered safely to everybody. Okay, so thank you everybody for coming. This was a great start to an ongoing conversation.